Welcome to the first ever Cultmunity Podcast. I have no idea what this is, and either do you, and that's fine. We will find it as we go. I podcast as I go. I have been thinking for a little while of starting a podcast, and then last week I said I was going to do a podcast, and now I have to do it because I am absolutely terrified of it. I've built it into this scary thing. Just in case you guys think like my stomach is snoring, I'd like you to see that Kesha's by me. She's snortling, not me. And I can't help it. She's too cute. I'm not going to move her. Anyways, if for some reason you don't know me, nope, that's a really self-centered way of saying that. I'm not going to say it that way. You probably don't know me, but a lot of you do because you're coming over from my YouTube channel, so you might be familiar with my face. If this shows up out of nowhere and you don't know me, my name's Beth, and I am a complete disaster, but I'm trying to work on myself and improve it. Now, I have actually done a lot of personal work where I love myself and I'm very secure in who I am, but the outward presentation of the Beth is leaving a little bit to be desired. And I'm working on it, and I think that's fantastic. I have managed to, in this process, in my journey of starting a YouTube, I have managed to build this beautiful group of people who are so supportive. We love each other, we feel seen, and I wanted to keep that vibe going. And also maybe not clean my house while I'm doing it. It's a lot of what I do. So I'd been floating the idea of a podcast, and now I'm not so important that somebody's going to show up and sit in the corner of my bedroom with me and talk to me yet, but that would be really cool if I could get that to happen someday. But in order to get to someday, I have to start with today and where we are. I was starting to get kind of locked up in my brain because a lot of the time when we have an idea, we put it on a pedestal and try to perfect the idea before we birth it into reality, right? And that perfection, that idea of perfection, it's actually just going to strangle the idea slowly to death because I'm never going to achieve what is inside my brain right off the bat. It's impossible. I'm not going to have the flow, the ideas, the coherent train of thought without random pivots. It's not going to happen. And I can never improve upon something that does not start. And so yesterday I was thinking, okay, you're going to start your podcast. And I immediately started thinking, I'm so sorry about her snortling. I kept thinking about things like, is this a good enough microphone? Is my lighting good? And then I started Googling different lighting. And then I started looking up what is the best lighting for a podcast. And I'm not going to buy a $738 lighting kit to put in the corner of my bedroom to maybe potentially, if I get the right idea and then I script it out perfectly, and then I have to get one of those prompts in the back so I can read it. And then I might stumble over my words. So that's going to be a lot of editing. I will never start. And so here in the corner of my bedroom, I have a snorting dog next to me with the mic and the camera that I use for my YouTube channel and my trusty cup of coffee. And we're just gonna rip the Band-Aid. Let's go. Let's do this together. So I have to edit out the swallowing aspect of that. Sorry about that. Okay. I don't have a guest, so I'm the guest. Hi, I'm Beth. I like to give people advice regardless of my expertise on it. I really enjoy telling people what to do, and it makes me super happy. And I hate telling myself what to do, and I hate being told what to do. But I will have to tell myself what to do on this. I don't know where I'm going with this. Some of the things I had been thinking about earlier today. Earlier today, I took a walk and I was trying to forecast, because it's not a reenactment. I was trying to envision what this was going to look like. I try to think of my talking points. And then as I was thinking of talking points, it's like, don't think about them too deeply, because then it will feel rehearsed when it comes out of your mouth. Like, you will try to pigeon that really funny joke you just thought of into conversation, and you're just like, it will be less authentic, less funny. And so I just have these scattered ideas of what this should be. And one of the visions that I had while I was thinking about how scattered this is, it's like having a puzzle, but I don't have the box or the inserts. And so I've decided to just separate. So I don't know what the picture is the end of that sentence that I didn't say. And so I have the pieces, and I know that there's going to be a border, right? I know that it's a podcast and there are different places to launch podcasts. I know what my podcast is called. It's called Cultmunity Podcast. I started a YouTube Cultmunity Podcast, and I know other places that it should be distributed to. I have an outline, so I know there's a puzzle. And now I'm sorting out the colors, but I'm not at the point where, when you're doing a puzzle and it's like a mountain with a lake, and the lake is reflecting the sky, and they're both blue. But after you fill out the puzzle enough, you can see, just by looking, you can be like, oh, this is a lake blue. It's not the sky, it's the lake. And while they're near identical, you become so familiar with what it is. You're like, oh, okay. And you can scoot the lake blues that are reflecting the sky from the sky blues. So right now, all we're doing is, I just know the color blue, and I'm throwing that in a chunk, and I'm throwing the greens, and we have no idea what this is going to look like, but I'm sorting. That's all I'm doing. I have my outline, probably missing giant chunks of it. And I'm like, where are all the edges? I can't find all the edges, but we'll find it. So I have to talk a little bit about me, especially if you don't know me. Why should you invest in a Cultmunity podcast? And I feel like part of what we're going to talk about a lot is not so much self-improvement, but maybe it is self-improvement about how to get to my level of unhinged self-confidence. Come with me. I will show you how to believe in yourself to an insane extent. I genuinely said that so loud, I saw it go in the red. I'm so sorry. I genuinely think that this is going to be bonkers successful in the long run. I just think it's everything I attempt, I feel like it's going to be great, because it doesn't matter if I fail at it. I feel so confident that I could do a podcast, because let's say I throw this out there, and I do have my core people who we are already in this Cultmunity together. We have bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. We're here for each other, right? So I have those. But if it gets cast out into the wider audience, honestly, there's basically nothing I could do in this podcast that could hurt me. And I don't mean hurt my feelings. I don't mean canceled. I'm not like, oh my God, what if I get canceled? I'm saying there is nothing that's going to happen by trying to start a podcast. Or, by the way, if you guys are thinking about starting a YouTube channel or anything creative whatsoever, launching your own business, there's nothing that I can do right now that will make my husband decide to divorce me, alienate my children from me, light my house on fire, crash my car, make all of my pets bite me at once, and then have my extended family shun me. Like, the stakes aren't that high. And that's genuinely how it is for basically everything in life. Almost everything that you want to try, everything that scares you, the biggest downfall of that is it doesn't work out in that try. And you can try so many different times. This can flop. And then later, when I figure out how to actually podcast, one of those could take off and I could figure it out and be successful at it. but I can't be successful at it until I fail at it. And failing is perfectly fine. It's so acceptable. I get uncomfortable with how resistant people are to failing at something like that. And I understand that there are layers of failing that could be pretty catastrophic. For example, hold on. Okay, if you launch a business and you're putting all of your life savings in it and that collapses, huge gamble. That's a big risk. But maybe it will end your marriage. Maybe it could go so catastrophic that everything ends. It just seems highly unlikely. It feels like what really could happen is you get a business loan, you launch your business, everyone knows it's a struggle for a while, you will make massive mistakes, and you could be really successful, but if you're not, you probably just face bankruptcy. And that is hard, that's catastrophic. And it's unlikely in the scenarios we're talking about, like starting a YouTube, zero risk. Zero risk. Starting a podcast, zero risk. Launching a physical, actual business is what I'm talking about. You could do like Etsy. That's not going to make you lose everything. You lose like the cost of materials, but you could launch an Etsy and people could go crazy. Somebody could pick it up and be like, this is the greatest thing ever. And you could be super successful at it. You could make your soap. You could make what else do people do on Etsy? Jewelry. I have heard, this is a pivot. I have heard though, but like the cheap Temu-y, you know what I'm trying to say? Temu, bulk item, not great jewelry is making its way into Etsy where they will list it as like handcrafted, local. I don't know if you locally source. Maybe if you live near a gold mine, but they're just like, oh, it's a small business handcrafted, but no, it's actually bulk ordered crap. And I've heard that that's flooding Etsy, and that really bothers me. I hate that that's happened. I've also heard that literal Temu is flooding Amazon, and that really upsets me too. Like, I want us to stop using crazy slave labor from China for all of our cheap crap. I would like to support smaller businesses that aren't exploiting people. That would be phenomenal. Thanks. But I also still order off of Amazon because I'm crazy. So in short, Temu should not hold you back from your dreams. Sorry. I don't know where I'm going with that. So I am incredibly excited to start this. Now, what's giving me bonkers levels of self-confidence that's making me just rip the sure, not dying from failure, like not having that implode yourself is directly tied to your sense of self, your ego, like suffering ego death. That's just not going to happen for me because I have worked so hard on loving myself. I have to spend 100% of my time with myself. Even when I'm asleep, I dream every single night vividly, and I'm always in my dreams. There I am. I can't escape myself. So why not deeply appreciate who you're spending every waking moment, sleeping moment, every single moment of your life with? That doesn't mean I don't recognize my flaws. I see my flaws all of the time, but I can see it in a broader context of who I am as a person. I am not my flaws. I'm just a lot more than that. So part of the bit that started me out is that I have a very supportive family. My father always hyped us up. Like, you are incredible. We're special. We're so lucky to be the people we are. And you're so good at doing things. And he just was constantly my cheerleader. And then the extended side of that family is very much like united and we love each other so much. And my mom's side of the family, they were very awful and toxic. And my poor mom deeply loves family. It's so important to her, but she, despite how wretched her brothers were to her, she still wants them to be family. She's so into family. And so I got to see both sides of the coin. I got to see what it's like to be fully supported and embraced and what it's like to thrive in spite of that, you know? And I got to see my mom, who all she ever wanted was family. And then she had us, and then my parents are divorced. She married a super amazing, supportive man. And then she made that family that she always wanted. And that's incredible. So she was like, okay, if I can't have it out of the starting gate, I'm going to create it. And so that was another way that I learned that if I don't have the community I want, and I love having community around me, I can force it. I can make it. I can find it and pull people together. It's one of my favorite skill sets that I have. For example, when I lived in North Dakota, I lived in Bismarck, North Dakota. My twins were just about to turn 2 years old, and I was just about to give birth to my son. Spoilers, I gave birth to my son, and then the girls turned 2. At just before their 2-year birthday, because I had a nurse come into our home to check on Calvin after I gave birth, and I don't know if she saw something or if it was just serendipitous, but she finishes up like he's nursing well. How do you feel? Let's weigh him. Diapers look great. You're doing so good, Mom. Like she was there to hype you up. And I love that. And to like reassure you. And then she gestured towards the twins and said, do you have any other questions? And by then the twins had lost their words. And so I said, they were talking, but now they're not. And she says, oh, we have programs for that. And so we got early start. We got people to come into our house and they evaluated the twins. And they were delayed in speech and certain other skills, which put them in occupational therapy, which took me years to understand. I was like, okay, wait, say it to me one more. Like, what is occupational therapy again? And it's basically functioning as a human. And I was like, because like occupational therapy sounds like we need to train them to be nurses or like their skill set so they can be carpenters, and they're 2, but it's just like tying your shoe, walking, throwing a ball, like just everything, just functioning. And so we had those in, and then my speech therapist one day, I said, I know my twins are not autistic because they make eye contact and they're affectionate. And she decided to blow up my whole world and told me she thought they were. And so that pushed us down the path. And by that December, so April's when we started everything, by that December, we had a diagnosis. And they were actually a pretty significant diagnosis. They at the time at that place, I don't know how it goes now, you can get 1, 2, or 3. 1 is like casual autism, like, 2 is, yeah, you're pretty autistic, but you're okay. And 3 is you're probably going to go to a home when you're an adult. And good luck, you're not functioning. So it's just 1's high functioning, 3 is non-functioning, basically. And we were diagnosed at level 3. We didn't have words. We didn't really have functional play. We just had none of it. And it was dark and it was hard. It was so hard because it's the death of a future and you have to grieve it. And you cannot blame your kids, so you blame your spouse. And we had no one near us. We were not near family. I had one friend that I met on Facebook. Thanks, Facebook, because people still did Facebook. It wasn't just, spam all the time. Hold on. I gotta drink my coffee. Okay. So I didn't have anyone. It was incredibly hard. And I didn't want to be isolated and scared. I wanted to be around people. I was still going to be scared. It was going to be terrible no matter what. But I didn't want to have it be terrible and just be me because I had my husband and we were grieving together, but you need other moms to grieve with. I don't know if men need other dads to grieve with because I am not a dad, but I needed other moms because Mark's job at the time was to reassure me. And so when I said, here's my fear, I know I'm never going to be a mother of the bride, he would say things can change and blah, blah, blah. Like he fix. And I needed somebody to be like, I'm scared of that too. That's just what I needed. So what I did was when we would go to therapies and we would have to be sitting in the waiting room, I would find other moms whose kids were acting like my kids. And I would be like, I bet that kid's autistic. And then I would find the mom and I was like, is your kid autistic? I need to know right now so we can be friends. And then my kids went to a special needs preschool and I found those moms. And I found a core group of moms. My leg fell asleep. Hold on. I found a core group of moms and I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's be together. And so we did. And then we formed a community. It was incredible. We would go have play dates together. Our kids all went to the same therapist. We went to the same special needs school. We have the same pediatrician, half of us. And we would share the same respite workers. Now, respite workers, like a babysitter that comes to give the parents a break. And so we would share respite workers. And so we were very interwoven into each other's lives. And I needed that. I needed it so deeply to where we could get together and be like, oh my God, this sucks. And not have people blow sunshine up your butt. Because what happens is if you find somebody, in my case and all the cases that I've ever met, if you find somebody who has a special needs kid, I feel like they've had this experience, and you talk to somebody who doesn't, and you're like, oh yeah, this is hard. They're like, oh my God, you're so strong. You're so incredible. I would never be able to do what you do. And you're like, oh, yeah. But it's not true. We're not incredible. We're not strong. We're not doing this amazing thing. We're just being moms. Like, I don't want you to compliment me when I tell you something. Like, they won't hear you. They just want to like give you like, oh, all this adoration, and then just turn a blind eye because it's uncomfortable. So we found each other and we were able to do that. We started this little nonprofit and our goal was to find other moms right as their kids were diagnosed. So we could be like, oh my God, yeah, this is hard. This is terrible. It's like a roller coaster. And sometimes you're really, really, really down. And then sometimes it doesn't seem bad at all. And you're great. And you're up here. And then out of nowhere, you drop back down to miserable. So I built that community and I loved it. And I feel like that experience, the experience of having all of what you thought you were going to have, all of what your future was supposed to be, shifted on such a fundamental level. It also made me reassess myself, my values, what I wish I had had. And I used to be kind of chasing that perfect Pinterest mom. I wanted to be a perfect Pinterest mom. I really, really did. And so that was what I thought my future would be. I thought I was going to be able to have the first day of school pictures and like pack the little lunch boxes and send my kids off without a worry or a care and things like that. And that my house was going to be clean, which was insane because my house was never clean to begin with. So like, why would that change? But maybe it could. And all of these things. And instead my life became therapy. I had a big board in my kitchen of names of the therapists and who's going to be there because I never knew who was going to walk into my house. And so you'd always look and you'd be like, oh my God, okay, in 15 minutes, so-and-so is supposed to be here. And just, you never knew who or when somebody was going to walk in. You're just like, oh, I did not know we had this. Hold on, my kids are not even close to being dressed, kind of thing. So that was a really long story to tell you about how I feel about community and how my mother building a community showed like a family, how she pulled it and made it happen for her. And that I knew I could do that. And I feel like this went so sideways, but it's fine. It's fine. You guys, this is the first episode. I podcast as I go. We'll figure this out. So being able to find that strength inside myself where I could find community and I could help support people and I could pivot from what I wanted, what I thought would happen, it really made me appreciate myself. I was able to go through hard, dark moments and come out on the other side. So it put so much faith in my strength, in what I could overcome. And so that's another thing. I can try anything. I could start a YouTube. I can try a podcast. I could probably learn to paint. I could do anything, and nothing's going to be so impactful to my life as those past experiences, you know? It just, when you have big, actual, true risks, it minimizes the brain risks, the fear made up risks that you get in your mind. So that was a weird little tangent. I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but here we are. Let's have some coffee. I am at a loss. It'll come up. Something will come up and I'll start talking. Maybe I'll just keep talking and we'll see where the next idea comes to. One of the things I was thinking about this morning on my walk also is, oh, here's another one. Okay. No. I'm going to have to edit this whole middle part out. But I probably won't. Pretty lazy. I have noticed that the more social media enters our realms, I feel like the more isolated we feel as people. I don't know if that's a fully fledged idea right now. Let's talk it out. Let's think about it a little bit. So I feel like with how social media has penetrated every single aspect of our lives and we're constantly connected, it has made us disconnect with people so much. Like, I don't need to call and check up on an old friend. I can just see what she last wrote. So I don't even have to interact with her to touch base with her. And the less you reach out and touch base with someone, the more actual distance you feel from them. And I feel like over the span of time, because we've had really intense access with social media. Okay, let's think about it. 2006, I know that there was MySpace and Facebook, but I don't think it was that prominent. So let's say 2013. I made that up. I have no idea. 2013 and it's 2025 now. So 10 years, right? Let's say we had 10 years of this amount of social media, because before MySpace and Facebook, you would still kind of interact with your friends, right? But now we have, we don't even talk on the phone anymore. We text each other, you know? And so I feel like the more we allowed distance and we allowed digital to create space between physical, I feel like it really isolated us. And then you have the toxic trait of social media being so curated, so snapshot in time, so perfectionist. Like, okay, the background organized from my feet forward, catastrophic. It's chaos. But I have made like my brand. I have built off of being chaos. And so I have found that the more raw I show, the more people feel engaged. Like the more people feel noticed. I just feel like we lack so much authenticity in our lives. We lack actual connection, that we're lonely. And now it's hard to go out and actually create connection because there's nothing out there. Everybody's inside on their devices. But if you were to, it's like if you go to a coffee shop, nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to look at you. We're not doing eye contact. We barely want to stand in line and order. We have mobile order. I want to come in, grab my coffee, and leave. You know, go to a library. Nobody wants to be talked to at a library because books are there. Like, where do we go? I'm not going to a bar. I am 43. Gross. I homeschool, so it's hard to find moms, but I do have a homeschool group. So you can get your friends' moms to be your friends. And sometimes if you're really lucky, you actually like them and you can actually get friends that way. But then you kind of just see them when it's a kid thing. Like if you are a soccer mom, you see your other soccer mom friends at soccer, but are they somebody that you can call when you're having a hard time and actually deeply connect with? So it really bothers me. I hate that for us. I wish we had more actual connection. So something I started doing, which it sounds unhinged, it really does, but I love it so much. I started just FaceTime calling. Instead of texting to tell the story, instead of calling to tell the story, which is also crazy, I FaceTime. Like, do you guys remember what is that movie? Okay, hold on. He travels Back to the Future. It's called Back to the Future. And they had like essentially what was FaceTime. And we were just like, oh my God, that would be so crazy to see someone's face for the phone call. And like that seemed amazing, like incredible. I can't wait for the future. And now nobody wants to see anybody. We do not want to have that incredible technology. We just want to see the words. We're basically back to, can we just have telegraphs again? Like the only reason we don't want to use telegraphs is because somebody would physically hand it to us. And instead we would hide and be like, leave it at the door. No contact. Thanks. And that's what we would do. I don't want that anymore. So I have been FaceTiming people. And I love it because now my internet friends are actual people. It's so hard to have internet friends that you just talk to with words on screens, but you don't know what their voice sounds like. You don't know what their face sounds like. You don't know what their facial expressions look like. You can't tell when they think something's just a little bit funny, because LOL means anything from I didn't find that funny or pretty annoying, but I need to have a response to be polite. Could you leave me alone? To, oh my God, I laughed and a little bit of snot came out of my nose. I wasn't expecting it. Like the gamut. But if you see somebody, you can see their actual genuine reaction, and it's a human. We're talking to a human. And I know, you know what we're going to do? And this pisses me off quite a bit. Hold on, coffee. This pisses me off so much is that we're going to refuse to do it. We'll refuse to do it with our real friends. We're going to be like, that's a little bit weird. Like, ew, I don't look good enough to be on camera right now. Oh, I don't like looking at myself, which I admit is very hard. You can get distracted by yourself. It's just not easy. But we're going to be like, and then AI is going to create friendships, and we are going to make AI friends that we look at. We're going to have a little AI buddy, and that's who we're going to engage with. And we're going to pretend like that's somehow a better replacement than seeing other humans who are lonely and isolated as well, instead of seeing them because you're a butthole about not liking how you look. Like, that's stupid. Also, tangent, but related. Stop being an idiot about having your picture taken. Nobody cares how you actually look. The picture really shouldn't be for you. It's for everybody who loved you when you're dead. Let them be able to look back and be like, oh, this was a really fun time. Nobody's going to be, well, my kids might, because they're harshly true. But nobody's going to be like, double chin. Like it was so great. We went to the Grand Canyon. It was gorgeous. We laughed, we made s'mores, but like, ugh, disgusting. Take pictures. Take it for your family's sake. Take it for your kids. Like, take the pictures. And I guarantee you, 20 years later, you can be like, I didn't look that bad. That was great. I'm glad I can remember that moment. So could you please be a part of the pictures? We're so self-conscious and we're so self-obsessed that we're doing a disservice to those that we love and those that we need to build connection with. And that drives me crazy. I hope you guys can't hear. I have family and they're in the living room having a great time. And so here are my options. I could say, listen, guys, I am starting my very first podcast and I did a lot of unhinged ranting in the beginning, but now we're kind of pulling it together. Could you stop enjoying your life? I could do that. I could go scream at them and bad mom. But I could just let them live their lives and we can all accept the fact that sometimes other people have families and their kids make noise. Also, I'm wearing a crop top and I'm not standing up for the life of me. I didn't think it was going to be a crop top. Why are all tops crop tops? Stop that. But it is flattering in the zone that you guys see. So I'd rather cut off my own legs than stand up for you right now. I could edit it out, but I won't. Should, but short. All right. Okay. I feel like it only took me 35 minutes to get a lot of my jitters gone. I was really anxious, and I think I'd spun myself up so much on my walk on what it was that I was going to talk to you guys about, how this whole podcast was going to go, that I felt very stiff and formal, which sucks. But hopefully some of you guys could slog through the beginning part to get into the normal Beth. I don't know. It just feels like the difference is that a podcast feels formal, professional, polished, and that's not who I am whatsoever. And I wish I had an opportunity to have a guest who was interesting, and then I could interview them, and it would be easier because somebody would be talking back to me and help me guide my chaos, derailed trains of thoughts. And then when I'm stuck in moments like this, I would be like, oh, what's another idea of things I could talk about? Which reminds me, I would love it if you guys gave me some ideas of things that you would like me to talk about. I'm happy to talk about almost everything. And that would be incredible. And then I could finally get one solid topic and talk about it. But this honestly is just, we all know, it's ripping the Band-Aid. Sorry, I moved that and made noise. I just needed to start, or I would perfection it. I would have nitpicked this so incredibly much. Was that proper English? It doesn't matter. Okay. I think I'm going to have to leave it there for today just because this isn't easy. I am uncomfortable. I just need to try something new. I am very worried about watching this back and seeing what I said and how crazy that little spinoff went. I don't know. It's so, I know I talked a lot about things that I had no plans of talking about, but that's okay. We will find this as we go. This is not what this is going to look like. The End Game podcast is going to be amazing. For some reason on my walk, I was like, what if the end game could be maybe I actually get a real studio? That would be crazy. What if I rented, I don't know why I thought of this, but I was like, what if I rented the TRL, Total Request Live? Remember Remember it was on MTV and it was you requested music. Was it Total Request? Why can't I say that word? Live? What was the T standing for? But anyways, what if I rented that studio? I think it's in New York City. Doesn't matter. No longer exists. But if it did, that was so peak my time. That was just, bring back actual MTV. Bring back that whole time frame. I'm so nostalgic for it right now. But I was okay, but what if I did that? Or what if I fought Joe Rogan, which I couldn't because he's a grown man who does MMA. So I would lose that fight pretty quickly, immediately. But, fighting the top podcaster, why not? Anything to get views, right? No, that's silly talk. I don't know. But we will grow together or we will grow apart. And this is my last video because Mark's going to come home and divorce me. And then my kids will be alienated. My house is about to be lit on fire and all of my pets are going to bite me. Hopefully not. I can't wait to see you guys next time and I love you. Bye.